We light our chalice today with this prayer to honor Trans Day of Remembrance, which is today. These words are lightly adapted from a prayer written by M. J. Kaiser. Trans Day of Remembrance and Resilience, an intimate and serious thing, a necessary ritual for the ones grieving all year long the perpetuation of an unnecessary death. May remembrance not be in vain nor in vanity. Let our remembrance be coupled with the awareness of the conscious complicity that enables and encourages the destruction of life. May participation in mourning precipitate working for change alongside the living. May the grief of this day inspire us to center the narratives on the lives living at the margins. May we not turn our eyes to the suffering of our beloved trans siblings. May we hear and heed the call to witness, to mourn, and to work for a life of safety and abundance for all. Mindful of the blessings of bread and of the work that brings it to our table, we now bless this bread. In a world where the wheat and the weeds grow in the same field, where suffering and greed often seem to us to be as plentiful as joy and justice, the call to bless comes to us, swelling in our hearts the call to single out the graciousness of this life with words of thanksgiving and beauty. By blessing this bread, we call for an end to the injustices which deprive any of our siblings and cousins anywhere of their unconditional right to bread, to shelter, to the comfort of love, and of work, and of support, and of equity.
As this bread was once scattered across the field and thence, through the effort of work, gathered and brought forth to this table as nourishment, so may the people of our common earth scattered across the fields be gathered through the marvelous effort of mercy into a world where neither nourishment nor justice nor love is rare. Let us give thanks.
For the sun, moon, and stars, for the turning of the wheel of the year, for the times of work and of rest, we give thanks.
For all those who dream of a more just world, for all those who create, and all those whose lives remind us that the creation of justice brings joy, we give thanks.
For all our soaring joys and the sorrows that weigh heavy on our hearts, for the tears which cleanse and the laughter which points the way to freedom and an open heart, we give thanks.
This is us together.
Whatsoever does not move, whatsoever does not change, whatsoever does not transform, is not alive.
Therefore, come now, Spirit of life, move in us and in this sign of bread broken together, that we too may break the boundaries of crustiness, shyness, and fear, and open our hearts to each other, that we may grow yet more merciful and compassionate, that no living or inanimate being shall be outside the circle of our concern and growing love. We are as one body. The rhythm that moves our hearts moves the hearts of those closest to us and moves the farthest star in its path. Take therefore and eat, as a pledge to the growth of mercy in the world. I'll invite you each to begin to come forward to select your own piece of bread. Again, please be mindful of the gluten-free, unless and until we are out of everything else, in which case, go for it. Please return to your seat with your bread and to eat it at your seat, considering with gratitude all the gifts of love, labor, and abundance that this bread embodies. It nourishes us, body and soul, the inseparable beings that we are.
Have a place at the table for everyone.
Just here.
For everyone, Lord, a place at the table to live without fear and simply to be, to work, to seek out, to witness and worship. For everyone, Lord, a right to be free, and all will be right when we are creatures of justice and joy. Yes, all will be right when we are creators of justice and joy. Justice and
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from When It Really Is Just the Wind and Not a Furious Vexation, written by Kyle Tran Myrie. All these visions of who I could have been, and not a single hero, Volk, super, anti, or otherwise. In one life, I wore a suit of armor and drowned in the river. In one life, I hoarded food and choked on it. In one life, the basement was so full of boxes of bullets, and then a tornado came, and I had nowhere to go, no shelter. I emptied clip after clip of those bullets into the wind. All these dead worlds, and still we tell the same stories. Which is not to say that I never survive. It's just that my survival, in every reality where it is possible, never belongs to me. I see myself not as a dual-wielding bandit warlord, but just as a neighbor, sitting in some community meeting. I see that even after the world ends, there is still work to do. I see myself in that work. Not the leader, not the lone wolf, just part of the pack. Because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. I don't always like them, but I do love them. In every universe in which I am alive, it is less because I could fight and more because I could forgive, because I could cooperate, because I could apologize, because I could dance, because I could grow pumpkins in my backyard and leave them at my neighbor's door, asking for nothing in return. In every universe in which I am alive, I am holding a first aid kit, a solar panel, a sleeping cat. I'm never holding a rusty battle axe or a rocket launcher. Sure, maybe sometimes I'm holding a chainsaw, but that's only for firewood and yard work. I am holding a cooking pot, a teddy bear, a photo album, a basketball, a bouquet of flowers. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. Survival is not a siren. It is a symphony. And yes, we fight for it sometimes. But survival is not the fight. It is the healing after. It is the clean water washing away the blood. The soft hum of someone you trust applying a Band-Aid. Survival is the feeling of falling asleep in a safe place.
Because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. And I don't always like them, but I love them. In every universe in which I am alive, it is less because I could fight and more because I could forgive, because I could cooperate, because I could apologize, because I could dance, because I could grow pumpkins in my backyard and leave them at my neighbor's door, asking for nothing in return. Because I could apologize. Because I could dance. Y'all know that I come back to my favorite poets and writers and authors and artists again and again, right? It's how I live into the sense of invitation that I wish to cultivate here in our faith community, and it's how I grow the garden of my own hope. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. Kyle Tranmere is one of my favorite poets and lyricists, and when I recently purchased some of his work, it came with a signed card with that quote on it. And that card now sits propped on my little bookshelf altar at home, the place where I gather the pieces and reminders of the sacred that most center me. We ground ourselves in our faith again and again, both by discovering new ways of thinking, being, and doing, and by revisiting those beloved rituals and considering the love and gratitude that these rituals allow us to cultivate in our hearts. The annual rituals that this congregation observes are periodic reminders across the calendar to examine our own faith and our faith community, to consider who we are, where we've been, where we're going, what we are planting. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. So that wasn't in the reading. Perhaps some of you remember last year I gave a series of sermons on the proposed revisions to Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, or UUA. And I'm certain that even if you don't remember those, that some of you remember JETPIG, the acronym that serves as a mnemonic device to remember the proposed core values of Unitarian Universalism: justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, with love always at the center. Think of it as the planet around which JETPIG orbits, or the fuel in the jetpack that allows JETPIG to keep working in those values without depleting their own resources. But what I just read to you, cultivating a spirit of gratitude and hope, that is the full text. There are more than just words. That is the full text for the value of generosity. We share our faith, we share our presence, we share our resources, We are connected in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. And I don't always like them, but I love them. We'll apologize. And we'll dance. Because we will mess up. And we'll celebrate the mess because we are in it together. Yes. It can feel hopelessly disingenuous to talk about celebrating messes when the world is what it is right now, right? It can feel that way if one cannot ground oneself in the belief in one's heart and in the hope that we cultivate in community. Love and hope are these small words that do a lot of heavy lifting in the language of faith. But I'll remind you that we are called not to a passive love, but an active one. We are not called to a hope that requires us to ignore the world, but to a challenging, active hope that invites us to look directly at the deep and dark truths and still dare to imagine something greater. Survival is not a fortress. It is a garden. Survival is not a siren. It is a symphony. And yes, we fight for it sometimes, but survival is not the fight. It is the healing after. Clean water washing away the blood, the soft hum of someone you trust applying the bandage, the feeling of falling asleep in a safe place. Survival isn't the fight. It's the healing after. In a world full of fighting, dangerous armed combat in war zones, in our cities and schools, in our places of public dialogue, in the halls of our government, we long for survival. We long for the healing even when we cannot see the path to it. I often despair, personally, as a pacifist, that we will never reach a time when humanity no longer turns to violence as a means to solve any of its problems. I wonder how long we humans will continue to perpetuate hurt and harm, to continue to uphold systems of oppression that will always harm the most vulnerable among us, and that will continue to isolate the least vulnerable among us. And I include me in that statement in my white, middle-class, cisgender, mostly straight body, so that it is too easy for us to turn away from the harm being done. And particularly today, when we are honoring also the Trans Day of Remembrance, I reflect on how much harm is done that doesn't always dominate our headlines, that doesn't always break through the 24-hour news cycle. Listen. In every universe in which I am alive, I am holding a first aid kit, a solar panel, a sleeping cat. Never a rusty battle axe or a rocket launcher. Sure, maybe sometimes a chainsaw, but only for firewood. I'm holding a cooking pot, a teddy bear, a basketball, a photo album, a bouquet of flowers. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Gratitude. That's the word that we so often use at this time of year when we're asked to count our blessings. We are literally giving thanks. And we also have the social science that shows us that a practice of journaling gratitude, of noting gratitude, improves not just also our physical health. Gratitude heals. And healing people heal people. This list of blessings from the reading, this list of tools that will be in our hands in our time of survival, they're not just tools for surviving, but for thriving. The tools of shared meals, shared comforts, shared memories, shared joy, shared beauty. What do you enshrine on your own personal altar of gratitude? What are the hopes you plant, the dreams you cultivate that make space in your life for healing? What will we grow together in the time before this particular annual ritual arrives again? What grows in the garden that is our survival? When we wash off the blood, when we put down the weapons of war, when we turn aside the actions of hatred that arise from hurt and from fear, what will be revealed? What harvest will arise when we apologize? What harvest will arise when we dance? Survival is not a fortress, it is a garden. Survival is not a siren, it is a symphony. Let your heart sing to that symphony. Let your spirit dance. Dare to cultivate a generous heart in a hurting world. What wonders we might grow together. So may it be.
Please join us in extinguishing our chalice and your home chalices if you've lit them with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Survival is not a fortress, it is a garden. We apologize when we mess up. And we still gather to dance and to celebrate the abundance that we have. Take the nourishment of this time with you into the week. So may we all be.